There's an old story of the shoe salesman who was sent to a remote island populated by a primitive group of indigenous people. He was only there a few days until he wrote back to the main office, "Don't send any shoes. I'm returning home. There's not a single native living here wearing shoes." Not wanting to lose a prospective market, the shoe company sent out another salesman. And it wasn't long before the central office received a note. "Please send more shoes. The market here is great and has great potential. Not a single native living here owns a pair of shoes." Have you ever faced an impossible situation and simply didn't know what to do? Maybe you're tempted to give in or walk away or find an easier path. Tucked away in the 13th and 14th chapter of Numbers is a story about a group of people who made a big decision that would change the course of history. A man by the name of Moses led an entire nation of people out of slavery and oppression to the border of the land that God had promised. A land that would allow them to live free and for them to provide for themselves. But before crossing the border, Moses followed God's instructions and sent 12 men to spy out the land. Among the commissioned spies were Caleb from the tribe of Judah and Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim. Their mission was to find out what the inhabitants were like and bring back samples of the crops grown in the land. All 12 spies returned with good news. The soil was rich and the crops were plentiful. They all described Canaan as flowing with milk and honey. Joshua and Caleb's report was filled with enthusiasm. "The land is wonderful, and if the Lord is pleased with us, He will bring us safely into the land and give it to us. The inhabitants of the land have no protection because the Lord is with us." Sadly, the other 10 gave bleak review. The inhabitants were powerful, and the cities and towns were fortified and very large. They even saw giants there. "We felt like grasshoppers next to them, and that's what we looked like to them." Their report struck terror and dread throughout the entire camp. They froze. They froze in their tracks and threw in the towel. It's hard to believe that the same folks that had packed their belongings and left their homes at a moment's notice ventured into the wilderness without any real plan or guarantee, never really knowing where they would wind up at the end of the day. They plodded their way through wilderness, witnessing miracle after miracle along the way. But this time, something happened. Fear took control and caused them to give up. God Himself had promised a bright future and blessings beyond their imaginations, but they just couldn't see it. Maybe they felt they were about to trade one form of slavery for another. Maybe they were just used to life as it was. Perhaps they were trying to be realistic, or they were just exhausted from years of travel. Whatever the case, they took the advice of the naysayers and forfeited the wonderful life God had in mind for them. If you're facing impossible odds, or you feel like you're in a stalemate, or just feel like throwing in the towel, try these simple steps. Stop. Take a step back. It's difficult to make good decisions when you are under a lot of pressure. Breathe. Allow God enough time and space to give you clarity. Ask for help. Find trusted believers who can help you make godly decisions. Trust God. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind."